Rebellions are built on hope.
And welcome to another episode of Radio Rebellion, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Alberto Calderon, and there is the true author of our intro, Oti, back there rocking it out. And not really, but thanks for joining us today. Oti, how you doing? How's your afternoon so far?
It was good. I went to take my measures for a tux because I have my sister's wedding and I have my best friend's wedding in the summer, so I was doing that. Hung out with some friends, came in like an hour before the show, and when I got home, there was a crash right in front of the entrance to my neighborhood, so I was stuck in traffic for 20 minutes trying to get in.
Yeah, that's never fun, especially when you have somewhere to go. There's always something happening.
Yeah, and I was like, this will probably be like quick, and then 5 minutes before the show, they still hadn't cleared the car. I was like, Alberto, I'm gonna be late.
Yeah, man, I always say that days that I'm on time, I'm waiting here for 10 minutes. Oti's not here. When I'm late, you always hear busting my chops.
I'm usually here like 10 minutes before. 15 minutes before I'm sitting in my desk. Like, I moved my setup, by the way.
So. I know. I was going to say something yesterday. Actually, I'll just mention real quick. We were, thanks to Mike from Who's a Boss and Laughing Place, he had us on his podcast. We spent about an hour there talking Star Wars. A lot of fun. So thanks to Mike. And I saw that you had a new setup. I was going to mention something, but I left it. But looks good.
So I got to work on it because I have like a part of my desk that detaches from the desk. And I put it here to have... Because I think this is a better setup than what I had there. Yeah. But I have to work on it because I think I need a little table because this is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I know. My chair comes like to half my back. I need a new one. My desk, I think we have this. It's not even a desk. I don't know what you call this. But we had them since we moved to Florida 14 years ago. So I need something new.
So just to show you the behind the scenes, in order to put this on the thing, I had to take this cabinet off.
Yeah, I got, you can say, well, my boom arm or whatever you want to call for my mic. Same thing, I had to take some shelves off from here. My laptop right now is on top of a Disney box that's like 10 inches high just to have it. So yeah, it's a whole production.
And by the way, this is the box I threw out.
You took the box out of the box. All right. So again, thanks to Mike for having us on his show yesterday. Make sure to check out his podcast and also their YouTube channel, Laughing Place. Find it out. We're there for a little bit, a lot of fun. So as always, make sure if you're watching it for the first time, thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our great fun topics and shows that we do every Saturday. If you're watching now live, thanks as always for being here. Give us a like, thumbs up, and leave a comment down below on all the topics we're going to be discussing today. So before we start, as you guys know, we do this live on Saturdays, and then we release the audio podcast on Mondays. We're going to be doing it a little bit different. For this one, it's going to come out on Tuesday, February 7th, which is Star Wars Podcast Day 2023, celebrating the 24th anniversary of Jedi Talk, which was the very first Star Wars related podcast that came out February 7th, 1999. Well, you were what, like 8 years old at that point, 9 years old? You didn't know what a computer was?
I was 6.
Oh my goodness. Man, Phantom Menace was just about to come out.
What was the date? What was the date?
February 7th, 1999.
I was 5.
Man, I was about to turn 19.
By the way, let's go to the chat for a second.
Who's here? Who's here in the chat today?
We have Brennan.
Brennan, thanks for being here, Brennan, as always.
He's liking my shirt. This shirt is actually really cool. I know it's controversial, but on the back you have all the Star Wars titles with the dates they released.
Oh, okay.
That's
like
really cool.
When you go to a concert and the back of the shirt has all the dates for the tour dates.
That's exactly why I got it. So if someone sees me from the back, they'll be like, "Oh, cool," and then when they see me in the front, they'll be like, "Oh man, really? That shirt?"
Man, not to jump in, but who is Dale? Dale, thanks for joining for 2 weeks in a row. Dale has not been blocked. Yes. Thanks for being. Who is it? Boris Kidd, I think. Reporter out there. He throws a lot of good articles. He did a tweet throwing some shade on J.J. Abrams. So come on, you don't need to. Something about the last movie he directed was the controversial Rise of Skywalker.
I'll just say this: like, even if you're in I hate Rise of Skywalker high horse, every last Star Wars movie is the most controversial Star Wars movie ever since the last one. So it's whatever.
Come on, and also whatever. We're not gonna jump into it. So yes, Star Wars Podcast Day. There's over 100 podcasts celebrating this. They're gonna be releasing episodes on Tuesday.
Something for the Latino representation in Spanish.
This counts. We can do half of this in Spanish. Ote, ¿cómo está? ¿Estás ready? ¿Listo para hablar un poco de Star Wars hoy? Hablar del crawl, cómo empiezan las películas, Star Wars Visions. Va para España.
Va para España, para Chile.
Chile, vamos a estar bueno. All right, so that kind of counts.
En español?
¿Cómo?
¿Cómo se dice crawl en español?
No idea. No idea how would you say.
This is an English podcast, by the way.
We're not the first Spanish-speaking Puerto Rican Star Wars podcast. We know we didn't get it. That went to someone that sort of. Yeah, I mean, tell that to Primera Hora, but we kind of diverge a little bit. So if you guys are ready, I'm not ready. Let's talk Star Wars and Star Wars news.
Star Wars news.
Right, the Star Wars news, we knew this was coming. It was revealed earlier this week that Vision Season 2 is coming out. No surprise, May 4th, Star Wars Day. And they announced the directors and the studios behind it, plus the release date, May 4th. Again, 9 more shorts coming out all on the same day, probably between 12 to 20 minutes long, same as last time. You excited that this is coming out so soon? I'm kind of surprised it's coming. We got Bad Batch, Mando, and now Visions all back to back that this close.
I'm excited. I'm actually surprised it's coming out on May 4th because, that's a very recognized date in Star Wars, and I don't think Visions is this huge thing among the fandom. But it's awesome. It gives it more exposure, I think. It's interesting. I love the concept of Visions, and I love that they're doing more. But yesterday I was like, I saw a list of all the episodes from the first volume, and I was like, I didn't love most of this. I actually love like 3 or 4. So again, I'm even the ones I didn't like were like an adventure to watch because I had no idea what we were getting into, or there are no rules basically. Like in the Twins, when the lightsaber cuts the
that's the best.
Well, what's going on? Sure, okay. So
and that was it. No, I think the Ronin one was the first one, right? And then Twins was the second one. Very different.
No, Twins
in
was
tone.
the third one.
Okay.
Tatooine Rhapsody was the second one. For example, Tatooine Rhapsody was one I was very excited for, and I didn't like it that much. So
it's
again,
low on my list.
It's a mixed bag, but I think it's a fun mixed bag to like figure out for yourself.
Yeah, it's nothing to get angry about or mad about. It's
nice,
the cool episodes. Some of them were just over the top, amazing, and then some were like, okay, like you said, just a fun adventure. Let's watch some kids want to play for Jabba the Hutt in the Bunta Eve. And one of them is a Jedi, so that's cool.
For example, TOB1 was one that I thought I was not gonna like. I loved that episode. I really loved that episode. I don't know why, but it just clicked with me.
And I don't really enjoy The Village Bride that much, and that's one of the favorite ones for everyone.
It's one of my favorites, but I was never that high on it. And the Twins is usually ranked as one of the worst. That's my favorite.
That's my favorite one because it's just all over the top, like you said.
It was like Dragon Ball Z.
Exactly.
In Star Wars.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put a link up here later. Just watch our reviews. I did with Lauren. I had to do it twice for the first time my stream was cut out. Yeah, it wasn't fun. But Visions again coming out in March 4th. Like you said, kind of surprising, but what did we get for March 4th last time? It was the Book of Boba Fett behind the scenes, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe at least not a trailer, but a little clip for Kenobi or something like that. It wasn't that much.
Yeah.
So at least we're getting something.
Yeah, it was all the rumors that we were getting Kenobi that day, but it didn't happen. So
yeah, I don't think it was a trailer, but we got some. Maybe some of those concept art that they gave us like for. Anyway, it wasn't that much. Visions is okay. We'll maybe get something for Mandalorian because we'll be right after Mando finish, so maybe we'll get that gallery episode for Mandalorian season 3.
No.
But what gets me very excited is something we've mentioned here, and on your show you mentioned it. It's that they're going away from the anime studios. We love those, but let's give all the people another cultures a stab at it. So we said 9 new studios from 9 different countries. So let's go through them real quick, the studios and the name for the stories, and then anything that jumps out. So we have I'll be the name of the studio first, their country, and then the episode. El Guiri from Spain. It's called Sith. Come on,
that's the name of the episode.
Yeah, that's the name of the episode, Sith.
Man, this is gonna be weird, but I was hoping they were gonna do like a Don Quixote thing with because Spaniards are very proud of Don Quixote. I was hoping for something like that, but if it's called Sith, I don't know. Let's see.
The Village Bride, and it's about this hidden Jedi and the rabbit lady. I don't put too much into it. Maybe they can do something.
You know what's gonna be fun, Alberto? Those Spanish episodes we can actually watch in the original language.
Yes, yeah, because they'll probably do the same thing. Because for season 1, it was all Japanese, and then the dub one. So probably do the same thing here, and we'll watch those in Spanish.
That's gonna be fun.
Yeah, Cartoon Saloon from Ireland is doing Screecher's Reach, whatever that is.
Sure.
Punk Robot from Chile, Indie Stars, interesting. Artman from the United Kingdom, I Am Your Mother, and Artman. Everyone's calling this is the one that does.
It's a claymation.
The claymation studio.
That's kind of crazy.
Yes, I mean, I Am Your Mother, a play of I Am Your Father. Is this a Shmi Skywalker one? Is it? I don't know. I think this is gonna hit me in my feels. Just the name of it.
I'm gonna throw like a wild card since we're gonna talk about DC, but I'm kind of thinking they're gonna do like. There's this comic in Batman where it's actually a flashpoint, where Bruce dies instead of his parents, and his mother becomes the Joker. So what if Shmi or Padme becomes Darth Vader?
And then you connect it with the Sith from Spain. I mean, that'll be freaking awesome. Studio Mir from South Korea, Journey to the Dark Head. Studio La Cachette from France, Spy Dancer, maybe similar to the singing one from the first season. 88 Pictures from India, The Bandits of Golak. Dark Stagio from Japan doing The Pit. And Triggerfish Studio from South Africa doing Ao's Song. And there's one, I don't know if it's the one from Japan or this one from South Africa, that Lucasfilm is also working with them.
Really?
Yeah, it's for one of them.
Okay.
So, Oti, apart from Spain, España, and Chile, anything jump out that you're really interested in seeing?
South African for sure.
Yeah.
I want to see what that's like. I think when we did, I mentioned it yesterday that when we did the review, I said I wanted to see something from Spain, and I think I said Morocco at that time. So same. It's not same country, but same continent. So it's gonna be interesting that perspective.
Yeah, when I did mine, I said if we're gonna keep it to one country or one country doing all 9, I wanted maybe Mexico, because Mexico has a big animation background, and give me a Day of the Dead kind of Netherworld of the Force thing. I was looking for that, but we'll see. We'll see what we get.
Lucasfilm, go to Argentina and do a soccer one. Like, do it for me. Do it for me. Yeah. And make jerseys. I'll buy one.
Dude, everyone would buy those. Soccer is right now, it's everywhere. Or football, I should say. We don't want to. Right. Everyone in the chat, let us know if you know these studios. What are you looking into? What are you excited for? Any of the titles catch your attention? But I Am Your Mother for me. Sith, of course, and the Bandits of Golak. Sound weird enough. So, yeah. All right, and then I don't have anything in terms of a graphic or a name down there. Just gonna mention real quick. I don't know how it's not official because Lucasfilm hasn't said anything. I just saw from a couple of websites saying that it's they said that Ludwig Göransson was not going to return to do the score for Mandalorian Season 3, and one of his collaborators, Joseph Shirley, will be taking over. Joseph Shirley, he did the Book of Boba Fett score, but worked with Ludwig in Season 1 and 2 of The Mandalorian. He's also worked in Black Panther with him, in the Creed movies. I think he's doing Creed 3 for Ludwig. All of those sides saying that Ludwig was busy doing Black Panther 2 soundtrack, plus working with Christopher Nolan doing the Oppenheimer soundtrack that's coming out this summer. So he didn't have time to make the Mandalorian one. Surprising to hear if this is true, at least for me. Are you surprised that he might not return? Or makes sense because he's such a busy composer at the moment?
I mean, I'm very skeptical about it because he's and. These are big words, but I think he's been the next music-wise the best thing to happen to Star Wars since John Williams. I know the Kiner Defenders, they're great, I love them, but I think the Ludwig impact is massive because he's a very different composer to John Williams. And at first I was like, I don't know if I like this. And I remember watching the second the trailer for Season 2 when that score kicks in. I was like, "Oh my god, chills!" Like, no way. So, I mean, that's iconic Star Wars now, and I don't know. For me, his impact can't be understated, and I really hope it's not true.
Yeah, I don't want to echo everything that you said, but same thing. When I came into Mando Season 1, I'm like, what is this? I don't know. It didn't feel Star Wars enough, right? But by halfway through it, or probably like 3 or 4 episodes, like, okay, this environment makes sense. But right now, like you said, that ta-tung and the little whistle, when he shows up, you know what's coming. You know that the Mandalorian is there. So it's become very iconic for Star Wars. And unfortunately, not the other shows have been able to replicate it. Book of Boba Fett, Andor, Kenobi, at least for me, the scores weren't that memorable. So I don't know. It's skeptical, but since Joseph Shirley has worked with Ludwig during the other Mandalorian seasons, I'm a little bit okay. He has a background. He knows the feel of it, so I'm not too bummed about it. But again, it's not official. We'll see what happens.
What I was going to mention is that it would suck if he's not coming back, but it would be interesting because Ludwig came by being trained by Hans Zimmer. And he actually got his first big gig when Hans Zimmer couldn't do a Nolan movie, and then Ludwig came in and did it. So it would be like, the passing on the torch to someone else, which whatever. But again, so I'm open to it, but it would suck in a way.
Yeah. Was it Tenet that he did?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that movie. Do I understand all of it? No. It's entertaining. I love Tenet.
I love that movie. I love it. Love it.
All right. So that was it basically for Star Wars news items. At least Star Wars news item worthy of covering. But all right, with that, we move to the TV side. And before we go, Dale was saying that they're moving Ludwig to movies. I mean, that's where he got kind of, like you say, his big gig, working with Ryan Coogler, doing the Creed ones plus Black Panther. Just watching Black Panther 2 before. Great score. So very busy person right now. But let's talk about Star Wars on TV.
Star Wars on TV.
Oh, I mute myself. Star Wars on TV. I gotta make it shorter. It's like, I don't know, like 5 seconds, and for those I just. I know, whatever. It's for the audio people out there. All right, Oti. Episode 6 of the Bad Batch Tribe came out. We kind of expected this was going to be the Gungi episode. I said I didn't care too much about Gungi last week. I'll eat my words. They sounded rough. It's not that I don't like Gungi, but it's okay. Did you enjoy this episode? You like seeing a Jedi back on screen? It's been a while that we've seen a Jedi on animated form, I guess.
Yeah, I liked the episode a lot. We talked about it, and I said like, even if I knew Gungi was coming back, and even knowing that we were gonna see him with his lightsaber, when it happened, I was like, so yeah, it was effective for me. I had a ton of fun with this episode, and I haven't been the biggest fan of the previous ones, so this was very much in my aisle.
Yeah, we talked about this yesterday in the podcast we were on, so just repeating the same thing. But again, it's first time since the second episode that we have the whole Bad Batch together.
Yeah.
Kind of miss having them, even though not everyone had something to do in this episode that kind of showed off their skill. It was good to have the band back together, as they like to say. Very entertaining episode. And I said it yesterday, I'll say it again today. Watching this episode with my daughter, she doesn't know who Gungi was, didn't know who Gungi was. So when he's pulling that thing from the guy's belt line, she's like, oh, what is he grabbing? I'm just wait. And when he turned that lightsaber on, she lost it. She's like, I love this. I love that. I said, that's it. That's all I need. This show might not be for me. It's for them. So anyone that doesn't enjoy the series, it's not for you. It's for the younger crowd or anyone out there that's going to have that reaction. So in that sense, the Bad Batch is working. It's very effective. So I'm glad I was there to experience that with her. As she got so excited to see a Wookiee Jedi in animation. So for that, I'm very, very pleased. I love those weird droid slavers that we got in the episode in the first part. Just seeing droids organize and trying to run a business, a shady business. It's a weird business, and it's weird seeing it, but I loved it. I love when droids just call humans or organic, because they always say, oh, droid, just shut up, or droid, go get me that. So it's like, oh, what's your problem, human? We saw it in the Speed Racer episode, and now we got it again. So I did enjoy those. We always say, okay, the animation is great, the music is great. Anything else that stood out for you in this episode? Or maybe looking forward to where the season might go after this one.
Yeah, I like to see Omega continue to discover the galaxy and seeing the injustices. It also helps with what was happening in the first episodes with Tech saying to Hunter, hey, we're not helping, things are happening and we're not doing anything. And thinking like, hey, we helped Omega, we could do a difference, we could help other kids. And here they get to do that. They get to help a Gungi, they bring him back home, they help the Wookiees. So yeah, no, for me, theme wise, it worked better than the previous episodes, which I had fun with, but they were fine.
Yeah.
So this one I think was a bit of an upgrade, and yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, like we've mentioned before, it's the Bad Batch is Omega's show. You need to realize that. Yeah, the clones are there, Crosshair stories there, but especially this season, it's following, like you said, her introduction to the galaxy and the way the galaxy is working right now. They mentioned in the episode, there's still children growing up in this changing world, in this war-torn galaxy. So it's great to see how she experiences these issues. So just know, for people out there that might not be enjoying Omega for whatever reason, this is her show. She's the lead character, the main character. So let's follow her and see where her story goes. Love seeing the Wookiees. Love seeing Kashyyyk. I'm glad they didn't shove Chewbacca into this. 10 years ago, if there was Wookiees, Chewbacca would probably have made his way there. So I'm glad he wasn't there. What else? I was going to say something that I liked and I just blanked as I was saying the other things. So we again kept going back through the podcast we did yesterday. We talked about this a little bit before about Jedi's, why are there so many changes from Order 66, and not retread what we talked yesterday.
No, let's do it. Let's go.
All right. Over. So as we do this kind of transition, we've mentioned before, we talked a little bit, I'll do it this way. Last week, we talked a little bit, I think it was last week. No, in the episode 3, I mentioned that so many clones are breaking away from Order 66, kind of not following with the Empire. I was kind of put off a little bit because we've been told, just watching the prequels and everything, the clones turned and everything went to hell. And now Rex took the chip out. The Bad Batch was not affected by it. Wrecker, obviously. Cody now is kind of away from it. And you mentioned, well, it just kind of wears off. But talking now about the Jedi, it's how many Jedi are kind of surviving Order 66? Is this an issue for you? Yoda told Luke, after I died, last of the Jedi you will be. Now we have Ahsoka, we have Cal Kestis, we had Kanan for a little bit. Even, I mean, he didn't make it past that. We have Ezra, Gungi. Some people might have some issues with all these Jedi that keep appearing. And as we go into that, what are your thoughts on it? Because people will say, well, where were they during the original trilogy and past it? But my question going into it was, do you think Gungi's reason for it is he just stays in Kashyyyk? He found a family, he found his tribe, like they say in Solo, it's the same thing. And that's his life now. He's trying to rebuild Kashyyyk, and he's not his Jedi days are done, but that's the reason he's not out there helping. He's in Kashyyyk. That's his planet now that he needs to keep safe.
Yeah, so the way I think about this is like, yeah, it's weird, and I remember when the news stories from Disney were coming out, and this Order 66 survivor, I was like, come on. And what we talked about is like there were like 10,000 Jedis when Order 66 went down, and for us, 100 Jedi being alive is like way too much. Luke was the last one, and when you think about it, if 100 lived, it means that 9,900 of them died, like massacred. So it's still a big moment. For me, it's not taking away from what happened, because what happened was a horrific thing. I don't want to like do this false equivalency, but like whenever there's like a massive shooting in the United States and 10 people died, it's horrible. We all like, how can this happen? But no one's out there like, yeah, but 40 people survived. It's like, no, because it's still a horrible thing that happened, and this entire group got decimated. And so for me, like, I've taken away the weight from thinking like, how could he have survived? Because and again, they're on different paths. Like, I agree, I think Gungi is gonna stay in Kashyyyk, and people are gonna go like, but where was he when Cal came? It's like, Kashyyyk is a big planet.
That's one thing that we'll get back to when, I'm going to go to X planet because someone's there and they'll find it like in 2 minutes. Oh, there's a blockade on the planet. Just go out the other way. They won't see you. Just take the other route.
With Vader, it's weird because Luke lived in Vader's mom's house, but people always going like, why didn't he go to Tatooine? Because Tatooine is a big planet
and it's a desert. You can't find your way around it.
So I don't know. It's
I mean, I've been on the mind that it's weird that just the more they put into it, the more Jedi that survive.
They're pushing it. I'm not gonna lie, they're pushing it, and I'm having to give out excuses on why it makes sense. But like, I'm still waiting for someone to be like straight up fighting the Empire. That's gonna be like, that's weird.
Which is, again, I didn't play the game, but when Cal Kestis meets Darth Vader, it's kind of, I don't know what's going on. And he survived. But anyway, that's different. Second video game is coming, so we won't talk about it. Just push back a little bit. We'll be out. Where was I going? Reading Darth Plagueis that I've mentioned. I've been reading, and not to spoil too much about it, but Palpatine and Plagueis are talking about there's a lot of Jedi out there. There's not an easy way to take all of them out. And that's when they start thinking about having some military or something always with them in a way to just annihilate them. But not every Jedi has clones with them. There's Jedi doing other stuff. So it kind of makes sense that some of them might survive. But the more they keep surviving, it's kind of, you now have to explain why they're not there. But so far, being okay with the way they've been doing it, I'm not too concerned about it. So, all right, next week we're getting 2 episodes of the Bad Batch. We'll be halfway through. I think the season is 16 episodes. We'll be now episodes 7 and 8, getting closer to the end, and also when Mandalorian comes out. But again, it's been an enjoyable season so far. Nothing stands out. At least to me, I know a lot of people have loved the episode. Nothing stands out to say, okay, this is mandatory watch. But I don't think that series is meant to be consumed that way. So we'll be back next week talking a little bit more about the Mandalorian. Yeah, the Mandalorian, the Bad Batch, and that's why we have trouble with it. All right, Oti, let's jump now to our main topic for the day, and that is not the Bad Batch. Get out of here. It's Star Wars Scrolls. We talked about Star Wars titles last week. Let's talk about Scrolls. This is something that we all enjoy. We all look forward to them a little bit more than titles, at least myself, because it tells us a little bit what we're going to be expecting for the movie we're going to be watching. Do you like Scrolls, Otis? This is a waste of time. Get that big music right there.
I love Cross. It's probably one of my favorite things about Star Wars. I was so disappointed in Rogue One when it didn't start out with one. Even now, Alberto, every time I watch a Star Wars movie, I'll read the crawl. Like, I'll be like,
I gotta read.
And I always say, like, when it's a new Star Wars movie, it's funny because the entire crowd like cheers when the title comes out, but when the crawl starts, silence, because everyone's reading as if we had a quiz about it in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, come on, this is it. This is Star Wars. I know they're not the first one to do it, but this is Star Wars. It's the crawl. Everyone knows it. Same as you, very bummed that Rogue One didn't have one. We'll jump into it. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna ask you because for me, there will never be a crawl like the one for Force Awakens.
Yes.
Because we knew nothing about the movie. We had no idea about the plot. So this was going to be the first clue of what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
so I wanted to ask you, because when the prequels were coming out, when Phantom Menace came out, I barely could read English. With Attack of the Clones and I vividly remember the Revenge of the Sith one. But I read them, but I wasn't like too into it. For me as a kid, it was maybe like this boring. The reading part of the movie.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, for you, when Phantom Menace came out, when the prequels came out, were you like into the experience of what is it gonna say?
Oh man, going back now. Honestly, I can't remember. My reaction to seeing the crawl, but yes, I was extremely excited. We're still getting it with the Fox fanfare, so all the drums and everything before, and then Star Wars jumps out. So yeah, I was of course excited to read it. A lot of political stuff, taxation of the trade routes from Naboo, and where's the Jedi? But it ends with, but the Chancellor sent 2 Jedi to kind of take care of this problem. I'm like, okay, here we go. And that's one thing I love about crawls, is that it sets you up for what's coming. If it's either the middle chapter or the last one, it kind of gives you a little bit of where they left off and then where the movie's going. So in that sense, always very excited to see the crawls. Be talking a little bit about Rogue One, and then we're gonna circle back to Rogue One at the end. I was sure for some reason that when they did the DVD release or Blu-ray that they were gonna backtrack and add a crawl. At that point, I wasn't a Star Wars Twitter. I didn't know all of this. I'm like, they're gonna hear that people are complaining, and they're gonna see that people really wanted a crawl, and they're gonna put one in. And then it came out, and I didn't have it. Well, you mentioned already, we're a little bit bummed, but does it make sense that I think the explanation was, the crawls are just for the saga series or the saga movies, not for this. But for Solo, we got not a crawl, but we got something.
We got a crawl,
just in a different format.
The Blade Runner thing. Man. So I wasn't expecting it for Rogue One, and in hindsight, I don't know if it was a mistake, because even revealing a little bit like what that crawl is, it's basically the same one from New Hope. Like it's I think it's a weird crawl to write, and even then, like, we didn't have all the Andor context to it, so I don't know. So I wasn't really expecting it, but I don't know if they're ever gonna do that again, because I think they were experimenting. Like, that was the first non-saga movie. Like, you could do anything. And with Solo, you could do anything. So I don't know if that's going to be the route. I really think Star Wars needs it. Like, that for me is the switch from I'm sitting in a movie theater to watch a movie I'm sitting in a movie theater to watch a Star Wars, like seeing the Lucasfilm and then the bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, and we took a stab at it, and we'll come back at the end. We took a stab at writing our own Rogue One crawl. We'll see how we did. And since I have read Catalyst before Rogue One, I said here Catalyst was my favorite Star Wars book for a long time. That served as my crawl.
Yeah, basically.
I knew. Yeah, but that's
it's
like
a 400-page.
Yeah, let's talk about reading for the movie. That's a lot of reading before the movie.
I read Catalyst after Rogue One, which made me dislike Rogue One more.
Yeah,
I was like, where was all of this?
Where's Saw Gerrera and the other guy that was helping, and all this relationship between Krennic and the Usos, and they were on court. Yeah, it's great. It's a great book. Yeah, so we're not gonna be able to talk about all of them. We'll be here all day. I put out a poll out on Twitter for all the trilogies. Some of them won. Surprised. I'll be surprised that A New Hope didn't make it. And The Force Awakens. Very surprised.
Are we gonna talk about them now, or?
Yeah, let's start. So episode 3, that's the one that won the fan vote out there for the prequel trilogy. And let me read it real quick. And let's break it down, how it connects from the previous movie, and then the tone that it sets for the movie we're gonna be watching, or anything else we want to discuss. And one word kind of threw everyone by surprise. Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, War. The Republic is crumbling under attacks by the ruthless Sith Lord Count Dooku. There are heroes on both sides. Evil is everywhere. In a stunning move, the fiendish droid leader General Grievous has swept into the Republic capital and kidnapped Chancellor Palpatine, leader of the Galactic Senate. As the separatist droid army attempts to flee the besieged capital with their valuable hostage, 2 Jedi Knights lead a desperate mission to rescue the captive Chancellor. A lot of words, a lot of names: General Grievous, Count Dooku, Palpatine, or the Chancellor, 2 Jedi Knights. So this is 3 years after Attack of the Clones. Starts with the big word there, Oti, war. People hate it. People make memes about it. You said you kind of remember a little bit.
No. I vividly remember this.
All right, so give me your experience.
I have to go into context. I really have to go into context of what was happening that day. We arrived at Disney World. Ooh. It was Star Wars weekends. The parks, when you were going in, security, stormtroopers. So I was in Star Wars mood, like 100%. And that day was my sister's birthday.
Oh, that's
and she wanted to see Cirque du Soleil. And my dad and I wanted to see Star Wars. So what did we do? We went to see Star Wars. So it was the first time I went to a theater and everyone was dressed up, because when Phantom Menace came out and Attack of the Clones came out, I was a kid, so I wasn't going to the midnight showing. I was going, on a Friday at 3 p.m. And so there were not really cosplayers. So, there was people dressed as Yoda, people dressed as Obi-Wan. I was in the perfect mood to watch a Star Wars movie. And when that crawl kicked in and the first words were war, I was 13, 12. So it was a perfect age for that movie. So I was just like entranced. And it's a great crawl. It's a great crawl.
It is. My experience with it, I think this was the first movie that I went to a midnight showing, or close to it. Maybe one of the Lord of the Rings movie, or around that time. There was no advance ticket purchase at that time, no advance seating. So I went nothing. So I'm still in Puerto Rico, Plaza Carolina. Shout out. Was about five minutes from my house. So I went there.
Never been to that theater, by the way.
I don't know. Caribbean Cinemas, I think, was who run it. I don't know how it is.
The only one left.
Shouldn't surprise me. Anyway,
Cinevista was the other one. Yeah.
Oh, Cinevista, yeah. So I bought 3 tickets. Mine, one for my brother, and my cousin, around 11 in the morning. And I think in Puerto Rico, movies come out on Thursday. On Thursday. So this came out Wednesday midnight, going to Thursday. So I bought the tickets early, got there about an hour earlier, line out the door. Like crap. So I went in the first three kind of rows. I'm sitting like this watching the movie all night. I didn't care. But yeah, you're gonna
I
love
was.
that crawl.
I remember I was like in the third row in my theater
Yeah.
for this
It
movie.
was, yeah, maybe not so much, but like 45 degrees looking up. But it's a great crawl. And War, people might make fun of it, but it puts you there. We just came out from Attack of the Clones. They say the Clone Wars has begun. I can't remember the exact words that
Begun the Clone Wars have.
exactly. So this is it. 3 years of war. So it puts you in that right mindset. And we're right in the action. The Chancellor has been taken by General Grievous, another great George
Who the
Lucas name.
Is that
Yeah.
guy?
We have Count Dooku and General Grievous, and the Chancellor has been kidnapped. But you're right there in the action. It's not, "Oh, let's just sit back for 20 minutes." It's you're in the action. You know what happened before, and two Jedi and the Jedi they're trying to save the Chancellor before he's taken out. So, love this scroll. Was great to kind of start this ending of the saga at that point. So I got nothing but high notes for the crawl.
Yeah, I love
Revenge of the
it.
Sith.
It was my pick for my favorite prequel trilogy crawl because I just adore it, and the impact of a 12-year-old. Again, I can't understate war. Like, whoa.
Yeah, it's something we don't hear that. Yeah, it's Star Wars, right? But we don't get that in crawls.
No.
Is there a crawl? I think the answer is gonna be no. But is there a crawl that you don't like, and you're like, this is kind of weird?
There's a crawl I hated, and I love it now, and I'll mention it later.
Okay. Before we go to the original trilogy,
Is there anyone you hate? Any crawl you hate?
no, I read all 9 of them before we kind of decide on these 3, and there's nothing I hate.
They're all weird in their own way.
They're weird in their own way. I'm gonna highlight here a comment from Brennan from his podcast page. He wrote that it's so funny how everybody hated the political talk in the Phantom Menace, including the opening crawl, but nowadays we hear about that stuff in the real world all the time. Yes, and I'll say when it came out, I was 19. I didn't care about politics at that point. I didn't follow the Puerto Rican politics and less the US. I unfortunately do a lot more now, and I hate everything that's happening around the world. So now, and it's reading everything like Plagueis. Sorry, I'm going back to Plagueis, but reading, I gotta go watch Phantom Menace after reading Plagueis because it covers everything leading into it, and the whole movie is still there. But I understand why people went from, we're finally getting Star Wars back. Wait, what's this taxation of trade routes? What's going on? So I understand why people were kind of pushed off when this came out. But there's none that I really hate. And like you said, as soon as the movie comes out, I'm like, let me just read it.
Man, what's a bigger gut punch? The Phantom Menace, The Return of Star Wars being political crawl, or everyone being excited for the next Luke adventure and the crawl starts? Luke Skywalker has vanished. What?
Yeah, and I thought I was ready to talk about The Force Awakens, but we don't have that one. People didn't pick it. But that's great. We'll mention it.
I looked at my dad, I was like, dope.
It is, because talking about where it's going, where the movie's leading, it's like, oh, wait, what's going to happen? But we'll get to the sequel trilogy in a minute. So, original trilogy, Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, won the fan vote. Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi. Luke Skywalker has returned to his home planet of Tatooine in an attempt to rescue his friend Han Solo from the clutches of the vile gangster Jabba the Hutt. Little does Luke know that the Galactic Empire has secretly begun construction on a new armored space station even more powerful than the first dreaded Death Star. When completed, this ultimate weapon will spell certain doom for the small band of rebels struggling to restore freedom to the galaxy. I'll say, reading this now, I don't remember again my mindset in 1993 when I saw this the first time. But if I read this now, if this movie came out, I'm like, really? Another Death Star? And I know we got Starkiller Base. But this scroll, I'll say, is kind of my least favorite one. Just reading it now, it's like too exposition. It's like, I know that's what the crawl is doing, but it's like, ugh.
I don't love that crawl. I'm shocked it was picked as number 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this, Empire, which was my favorite movie for the longest time, I don't love that crawl either.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this Empire one, this is 3 years, Return of the Jedi, 3 years after Empire Strikes Back, mention of the second Death Star. it kind of tells us real quick what happened at the end of the previous movie. They're going to go to Tatooine to get Jabba the Hutt, and the Death Star is coming, and our rebels are in trouble. I don't know. For the ending of that trilogy at that point, I don't know. It's too much. It feels like too much.
It's a very George Lucas crawl. I'll say that. It's dropping us into an adventure, basically. And I don't love it. I really can't believe New Hope wasn't picked, because it's the first one, and it's
I know,
one of the best ones, in my opinion.
I feel bad because everyone voted, but I got one comment, and it was, "You better talk about a New Hope. That's the first one. We gotta talk about New Hope."
Let's do something, Alberto, because Brennan actually mentions the original episode 4 crawl, and okay. I looked it up. And it's long. It's long. It is a period of civil war in the galaxy. The brave alliance of underground freedom fighters has challenged the tyranny and oppression of the awesome empire, galactic empire, striking from a fortress hidden among the billion stars of the galaxy. Rebel spaceships have won their first victory in a battle with the powerful Imperial Starfleet. The Empire fears that another defeat could bring thousands more solar systems into rebellion, and Imperial control over the galaxy will be lost forever. I'm not done.
Oh my goodness.
To crush the rebellion once and for all, the Empire is constructing a sinister new battle station, powerful enough to destroy the entire planet. Its completion spells certain doom for the champions of freedom.
Oh man,
that's a long one.
Yeah, take a couple sips of your water.
And I want to. It was interesting to read that, because I've mentioned I love writing fan fiction, and I love writing crawls, because I think it's a challenge. You have to be very concise. The words are key. That what you're gonna capitalize. And one thing he does here is he repeats a lot of words, and I can be terribly wrong, but off the top of my head, I don't think Star Wars crawls repeat words. They use like different words, synonyms and things. So
sure.
That was interesting to read that one.
Yeah, you can feel the editor going, take this out, take this out. You're repeating the same thing. Awesome Galactic Empire. No, that's not there.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's too much. But you can see the building blocks of what we actually got.
Yeah, for sure.
But man, that's 2 minutes of
long.
reading. That's too much. But that's basically like, if you're trying to sell the movie, what's the movie about? That sells it. And
that's a pitch.
That's what the crawl is doing. But yeah, that's a long pitch.
It's still a long elevator pitch. The elevator ride will be over, and the guy's like, "Dude, I gotta go."
Yeah, you gotta hit like that 25th floor to get through all that. All right. Anything else for the Return of the Jedi? I think it's okay. It's not the best.
Yeah, I can't believe it won, but hey, if people like it, they like it.
People like it. All right. So for the sequel trilogy, and then I'm guessing maybe here is the one that you don't like in this trilogy. It's a crawl that you really don't like, but not surprising, I would say. I thought The Force Awakens was going to win, but the people love The Last Jedi. So Episode 8, The Last Jedi. The First Order reigns. Having decimated the peaceful Republic, Supreme Leader Snoke now deploys his merciless legion to seize military control of the galaxy. Only General Leia Organa's band of resistance fighters stand against the rising tyranny, certain that Jedi Master Luke Skywalker will return and restore a spark of hope to the fight. But the resistance has been exposed. As the First Order speeds toward the rebel base, the brave heroes mount a desperate escape.
I love it. It's one of my favorite crawls.
Okay.
And it's a hard one, because you're writing a crawl for a movie that's starting 5 minutes after the one we just watched. So I always thought there was going to be a time jump, and I think before the movie they were like, no time jump, it's picking up right after. So it was interesting for me to read, but I think it does a great job setting up and you know what, people say like we didn't really get much of what was happening, but I think this crawl gives us like they're taking over everything, and I liked it.
Yeah, it's like you said, this is probably one of the hardest one to write, because it's just minutes, hours after the end of The Force Awakens. I'm surprised because At the end of the movie, yeah, the heroes won, so you think they're gonna be on a high, and it's not. They really lost because their 5 planets were destroyed. The
They're
New
exposed.
Republic was destroyed. So yeah, the First Order is feeling victorious. Let's snuff out the last of the resistance. So it does convey what just happened. Kind of sets you in the mood for the following movie. And we got more with Luke Skywalker. At least they found him. He's not lost anymore. But yeah, it's a good troll, and it puts you right in the action also.
And I think it's interesting because it doesn't do the stereotypical thing where the First Order got hit, they wait a year and come back. No, they got hit and we're coming after you right now.
Yeah, it's a great. I'll say that one's a great crawl, especially for how difficult it must have been for Rian Johnson to try to find a way to express what's going to happen when only a few minutes have gone. Yeah. I'm not a fan of no time jump because
me neither. I think if I would have been, again, it's my favorite Star Wars movie, but I would have done it differently, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, but you mentioned there's one troll that you're not too happy with.
No, so when I watched The Rise of Skywalker and that crawl ended, I was like, oh my, what did they do? What did they do? And Alberto, honestly, it's not one of my favorites because it's so... It's like in the same way I love the Mayordomo. It's so silly.
Well, I'm gonna look for it because I
remember when I read the Dead Speak, I was like, no, what are they doing? So it's I really came around on it, and I just love how silly it is, and it's not in a. For example, the movie The Room, where you love it but no, it's terrible. Like, I really like it. I love how wild, and it perfectly sets up the movie you're about to watch, which is a wild, crazy movie.
Yeah. So, that's not it. Come on, I can't find it. The Dead Speak. The galaxy has heard a mysterious broadcast, a threat of revenge in the sinister voice of the late Emperor Palpatine. Let's just leave it there. It's weird, like you said.
It's weird.
If you're into all this fandom, you know that the Dead Speak, that message was revealed on Fortnite, of all reasons, of all places. I agree. That's a weird one to start with. I understand why the first time that you see is like, what's going on?
Dude, I was like, oh my God, what did they do?
All right.
I know a lot of people left the theater that way. I was whelmed and then came to love it, but
I really like The Rise of Skywalker, so I don't mind it. But yeah, it's a weird troll, especially starting that way. But come on, anything else from the crawls you might want to mention before we jump into our own version of the Rogue One crawl?
More crawls, Lucasfilm, please.
Yes, please.
I love them.
All right, Oti, I told you we're going to talk about trolls. Let's take a stab at writing our own troll for Rogue One, which we did. I'm going to put... You want to do yours first or mine first?
Am I going to read? Oh, no.
Yeah, you're going to read yours. I'm going to put it. It's going to go up as the crawl. I have the music on my phone, so we were able to talk over it and not get copyrighted. And then we'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll go out. So you want to do yours first?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's go. You read it. Come on, read your own troll.
No, the evil empire. It is time to go rest. I can't read it.
All right, so we're going to start again. Come on, you're killing me here. All right.
I forgot we have an audio version of it. It is a time of great unrest. As rebel cells move to restore freedom, the evil empire tightens its grip over the galaxy. As defected Senator Mon Mothma attempts to unite the different factions into the Rebel Alliance, the time for action nears. As the regime is moving to new offensive, the rebels must now seek out information on the enemy's new tactics in order to ignite the fire of hope to their cause.
I'll say, because we can use what happened in Andor, what happened in Rebels. There's a little Death Star there, even though it's Death Star 2. But all right, so a great crawl. I'll say that's a good one.
Thank you.
When you were writing it, what were you kind of?
Some
of the points you wanted to hit.
So it's weird because you told me the whole Andor thing and Rebels, and I was like, okay, how do you bring it together, but also supporting what the movie is about? Because I'm not gonna talk about Kanan and Luthen, but so the message I wanted to convey was like the Empire is getting wilder. And these bands of rebels have to come together if they want to stand a chance against the Empire.
Yeah.
So that was what I was trying to convey.
Yeah, I mean, and it does. I did enjoy it. It's better than no crawl at all.
And I want to say my favorite part is looking for the adjectives to the Empire, like the evil Empire. I don't know, like finding those quirky Lucas words. I love that part.
Yeah. For next time, you gotta throw awesome in there.
Awesome
Empire. You said you liked writing crawls? Have you tried writing one for Rogue One before when we didn't get one, or
never.
First time? Okay.
Never.
Yeah, me neither. And it's a lot harder than you would think. I can write a crawl for Rogue One. It's hard. Harder. Yeah.
By the way, Brennan mentioned there's another crawl to New Hope than the one I read, and it's Adventures of Starkill. Yeah, okay, I'll check it out, Brennan.
We'll find that one later. All right, so here we go. This is mine. I'll say same thing. I didn't go straight into Andor. I had a line there, and I just took it out.
Okay.
Maybe it's a name of 2 planets that I put. It's a little bit on the nose, but whatever. This is just to have fun. All right. Star Wars. Yeah. Rogue One. A Star Wars story. For decades, the evil Empire has subjugated worlds with its crushing grip. The Galactic Senate's power dwindles even though some resist. From Lothal to Ferrix, rebel cells, partisans, and everyday people have started rising up, but a new weapon casts a shadow over the growing descent. On the remote world of Lamu, scientist Galen Erso and his family lead a peaceful life, but Imperial Director Orson Krennic returns in search of his old friend.
I like it.
Yeah.
So, okay, I like it. I love that last paragraph, how it sets up, which is something I did not do, and I'm punching myself over it. But I like how that paragraph leads directly into what the movie's going to start.
Yeah, that I added because as I was just reading all the crawls time and time again before this, a lot of the last paragraph just leads straight to the movies. So I said, I got to put something there. So it was a good exercise to get that crawl there. And like you said, hopefully Lucasfilm has learned their lesson and we get more crawls moving forward.
Please.
When episode 10 gets announced in Celebration.
Do you ever pay attention to how long or how short a crawl is? Does that
no idea.
No? Okay.
No. 3 paragraphs and that's it.
That's always an interesting art because sometimes a paragraph is just an entire sentence.
Yeah.
So I love it when they do that. But
yeah, I don't pay attention.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, maybe next time. All right, so now we move to our other segment where we talk about something else that's not Star Wars in a world between fandoms. Somewhere is my music. There we go. A world between fandoms. All right, Oti, I know we're going to spend some time talking about The Last of Us, but before we jump into it, we don't get to talk too much about DC, the DC universe. James Gunn and someone else that I don't know the name.
Peter Safran, now the heads of DCU, DC Universe, whatever you want to call it. And DC Studios.
Sorry, DC Studios. And on January 31st, everyone was waiting. They got their new plan. They announced the whole slate, a lot of TV shows, TV shows and movies. I'm just going to run through them real quick. We're not going to go through all of them, but just your overall sense of where the DC is heading. Superman Legacy, Superman, Woman of Tomorrow. Sorry, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Batman, The Brave and the Bold. Paradise Lost, which is for Themyscira, Booster Gold, Creature Commandos, Waller, Lantern for the Green Lanterns, Swamp Thing, The Authority, and they also mentioned that DC Elseworld, so the Batman 2, Matt Reeves Batman is still there on their side, and the Joker is separate universe. You excited for this news? It's a little bit of direction. Some people are still, well, what does this mean? You have two Batmans, Flash might come back, Aquaman. So what's going on?
Listen, so I was overwhelmed and underwhelmed at the same time. So I'll say I was whelmed. Yeah. I love DC comics. Like, it's funny because in all of my setups in the camera, you can only see the Marvel ones, but I have like a whole section of DC like right there. It's what I really grew up with because I read a lot of DC and Spider-Man and X-Men, but a lot of DC. So I've always wanted that universe to be great. And I haven't hated the Zack Snyder verse. I always thought it was an interesting take on it. And it never really affected me like, oh, they're changing the characters. Like, no, it's cool new interpretation. Dope. So I've always wanted it to be great. And I'm very excited for James Gunn to, have his turn at attempting to do something with it. Because even liking what they've done, I don't think those characters have ever been like properly represented. Batman, of course, there's been so many iterations of him that they've actually nailed it quite a couple of times. But Superman, I don't think there's like a perfect Superman movie. Even with the
Christopher Reeves.
With Christopher, that's probably the best one. And I don't think it hits all the beats of Superman. So I'm very excited for Superman Legacy, but I'm also very excited for the rest of the things they announced because they're like non-conventional titles. Like, for example, The Authority. Like, what? They're doing an Authority movie? I was shocked when I heard that. And the reason I'm excited is like, you don't go with these titles if you just want like a quick paycheck on this and a quick return. It makes me think that if James Gunn is using these characters, it's also probably James Gunn, like hitting the beats he likes to hit, the characters he likes. But I think he has something interesting to set up. And seeing these titles and seeing what he mentioned out of all these titles, I think he has something good in mind because it's all about characters, their morals, and those morals being challenged. And that's what he mentioned with Superman, and that's kind of what's going to happen with Batman bringing in Damian Wayne. So
I was excited to hear this because I grew up also reading comics, Marvel and DC. I've always been more of a Marvel fan, but I love Superman, Batman. Who doesn't love Batman? And a lot of those stories. So like you mentioned, and I've watched all the Batman movies, everything that's come out. So I enjoyed the Zack Snyderverse, whatever people want to call it. Please give up your dreams. It's not coming back. I love the Man of Steel. Man of Steel is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I'm really bummed that he's not coming back. And it's kind of weird when then James Gunn and Peter Safran kind of say, yeah, well, the door is still open for Flash and for Shazam and Aquaman. But Man of Steel, Henry Cavill is not coming back. He got shafted by the other group, and we're basically shafting him because we're not bringing him back. But he's such a great actor out there that he already has a bunch of stuff to fall back on. Don't feel bad for him. He'll be okay. So I'm bummed about that. But Superman Legacy seemed very interesting the way they framed it. I don't know the story of Brave and the Bold, so having an older Batman have a kid out there, this murderer, whatever he is not the best Robin out there, the psycho.
I'll just say this. I hate Damian Wayne. I've always hated him. So it's going to be a challenge for me, for sure.
Yeah. The thing for me, I'm not the biggest James Gunn fan. I love the first Guardian of the Galaxy movie. I was okay with the second one. The Suicide Squad movie that he did for me was okay. I only watched it once. There's no need to watch it again. Peacemaker might be my favorite thing after Guardians, and it took me like 4 episodes to get into it. The first 3, too many adolescent jokes, kind of things that I didn't care about. Not for the 18 to 24 crowd, great. But I'm like, not for me. After that, it got a lot better for myself. So when the first thing that they announced was either the Authority or Creature Commandos. I can't remember.
Commandos. That's why I mentioned the whole James Gunn thing.
And I'm like, I was
for him.
afraid that he's just gonna pick these weird arcs and comics and go that way, and that's the first one. Like he's doing it, but then he dropped Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, and all that. So I'm interested to see where it goes. I'm not the biggest James Gunn fan, like I said, so I don't know. Excited for new movies, but I'm not betting everything on them.
Two quick things I want to mention. I totally get what you're saying. James Gunn's that guy I like a lot because I like him. I think he's someone who loves these titles and really wants to do like good by them.
Sure.
But I'm not expecting him to be like directing, and I really don't hope he's not doing Superman. I'll still give him a chance, but because he's a very
he's writing Superman.
He's writing, and there's something people forgetting. He's co-CEO of this company. He has a lot of his plate, like negotiating, and people say no, Safran's taking care of the business side. No, they're both co-CEOs. They both have to be involved.
Yeah.
So I don't expect him to have the time to be like, yes, I'm gonna be on set doing Superman every day. I don't know if I'll probably have to eat my words if he comes and does it. But so on that side, I'm not that worried. And to you, I would say, like, since he loves these titles, I'm sure he's gonna pick the right people to come and do them.
Yeah, and I don't think he's gonna be directing a lot of them. I think they say already was James Mangold might be doing something.
So that would be crazy.
Yeah, but I think Superman's first one, it comes out 2025. Yeah. So if we get Star Wars movie plus this one, it's gonna be.
The Batman is coming out in 2025.
Man, when they said they're not touching the Batman, like, okay, just do whatever else you want, just leave Matt Reeves and Batman alone. I'm happy.
For someone like me, 2 Batmans at the same time, yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be something. So again, excited for it. We'll talk more as we get more information. But Oti, episode 3 of The Last of Us. You said last week you were very excited for this. Can't wait to watch it and talk about it. I'm just giving you the floor. I don't know what else we can say that hasn't been said about this episode, but
they changed so much, Alberto. They changed so much, and now I can talk about it. So, in the game, when you get to Bill, you never see Frank.
Okay.
And Joel doesn't know Frank. Bill keeps talking about this partner he had that disappeared, and he's clearly very bummed about it. And you get to this house at one point, and there's this guy who committed suicide. And Joe's who's that guy? And Bill goes like, oh, that's Frank. And he cuts him down. And before you leave the house, if you walk around, you find a note from Frank in which he tells him that he hates Bill. He hates him. And he was trying to build a car and escape, and he got bitten and killed himself. And it's like, and you get to choose if you tell Bill or not. So it's a very different dynamic. And they really hint that they really did have a relationship. So in this episode, when they were giving us the relationship aspect to it, I was like, they're going to break our hearts. They're going to just smash it with a hammer. And they did, but in a very different way.
Yeah.
In a very different way. It was beautiful. I think it served a better purpose to the story than what we got in the game. I think it brings the themes in that part of the game better than how it happened in the game, because that part is more about who are you fighting for.
Sure.
And I think how they played it out in the episode, it hits home better.
Yeah, this is something we talked last week, that this seems like it's going to be a flashback episode, and 95% of it was. It was Joel and Ellie walking over there. It doesn't matter. Once they get there, that's important. They're just walking, trying to get to this stash that Joel has, some weapons and stuff. But it's heartbreaking. But if the way it was set up, because I forget the name of the character that dies in the previous episode. What's her name?
Tess.
When she said, take her to Bill and Frank. So you know that both of them, at least for me, myself, okay, both of them are going to be there. So when we start getting the flashback and Frank falls into the hole, Bill gets him out, but he keeps stalling, right? Oh, let me take a shower. Oh, let me play the piano. I'm like, he's going to kill him. Don't turn your back, because that's what happens in every one of these Survivor movies, right? You turn your back for 5 seconds and the person that you're helping kills you. So I'm like, this is going to happen, but I know she said take her to Bill and Frank, so this is not going to happen. So it was a good reversal on that kind of trope that we get. before we get into more the actual story between them, I love that they showed why Bill is still surviving. So a lot of times, yeah, people that survive, you always, how the hell is this person surviving 10 years here? He already has his bunker. The first thing he did was got into the power company, get power to his house, buy all the supplies that he needed, get stocked up. It's like, okay, it makes sense that he's able to survive out there by himself.
He did everything I would have done. Like
I'll be
I
dead
always
in 2 minutes.
I always say this. If it's a standard horror movie, dead first 10 minutes. If it's a zombie movie, I'm making it all the way until the world ends or they find a cure.
Yeah.
Because I've been preparing myself for this forever. So
Oh man, I'm scared
everything Bill did, I was like, that's exactly what I would have done. Raid the liquor shop, raid Home Depot, yeah, everything.
Yeah, you're taking note, checking off. Yes, right.
Yes, good job, Bill.
It was. Go ahead.
So one thing that threw me off, and I didn't even think about it, was that Bill, when the episode starts 20 years before, is the same age he is in the game. So I never really processed like he's gonna be 20 years older.
Yeah.
By that point.
And I thought he beat it when those raiders come. He gets shot in the stomach. I thought he was dead because it just fades to black. He's like, "Oh, you'll be fine." And it comes back, and it's Frank that looks all messed up. I'm like, "Oh, Frank, those 20 years hit you hard." But then you don't know he's sick. He's going through all this. I don't know. It's a great love story. Does a lot for representation. Everyone's out there saying it's deserved. I can't make. A lot of people say this better than I can, but we usually don't get these gay queer love stories that have this type of ending. It's usually something bad happens. A lot, like you said, in that game is very different the way they separate. And a lot of people were saying that they're glad they changed it to give this relationship more time to breathe, and so they ended in their own terms. So I understand why people were very sad at the end.
It really it's a very Last of Us story. It shows you all the light side and dark side of the relationship, but it has like a beautiful ending to it. And I love Bill's. It sounds so weird, but I love his suicide where he's like, I'm old. As you get to choose how you go, I want to choose how I go. And I love that line, like, we've been drinking the pills, like, or you poured the pills into the wind. He's like, enough to kill the horse. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, because I was thinking the same thing. Like he's not gonna then just stay by himself. He's gonna do the same thing. But when he starts crushing them, and then were the drugs already in the wine?
I think he tried it. And he's like, it tastes the same.
Yeah.
I fell in love with what they did, and it's a happy story. I know we were all sad, but it's a happy story, and I think it works better with how dark the story is gonna get to give us this light story to tell us the same message, and I really appreciated that.
And I love, like you said at the beginning, the meaning of this episode. I know people didn't like it just for their weirdness, that they don't want this type of stories out there.
Bill was gay in the game. You were just paying attention to your phone and not what they were saying.
Yeah, don't give attention to that guy that posted, "Why are kids watching gay stories in my zombies? Do what watch the kids?"
They were like, kids are watching the show. Who's letting the kids watch a 9 p.m. HBO show? Like, who? Yeah.
Oh man, it's moms against TV again. But yeah, so all those people aside, because I didn't see this on my feed. I saw people complaining about it, about other people saying that, again, the filler word got thrown out. But like you said, the message of this episode is save one person. You can't save everyone. You gotta save at least one. Of course, they're talking about Tess in that note, but no, it's Ellie. So that it's right there. Even if you didn't like the whole episode for whatever reason, that little 3 minutes of her reading the note, it's the meaning of the story, the meaning of this episode. Hopefully the show going forward is do what you can to save one person. And we know that Joe is very secretive about his past. Every time that Ellie tries to mention something, even from Tess or everything. So very interesting to see where this dynamic goes forward now. He kind of revealed a little bit more about his brother. He got recruited by the Fireflies. We're going to go find him. So yeah, very excited for him moving forward. But yeah, that message of just save one person, just hit hard.
And you know what? I like this change with the whole Tommy thing because as I mentioned, the game send her to Tommy and they go to Bill to help them get the car. In here, he chooses to go to Tommy. His mission gets to a dead end with finding that Bill's dead. And now he's like thinking, okay, what can I do for this kid? Oh, Tommy. So I like that change because it's more of Joel's choice to do so.
All right, so can't wait for tomorrow's episode. Also, I watched what's coming. I can't remember. I know it's more action-packed.
It is. Episode, so it's gonna be some tense episodes. I think it's gonna be like a 2 or 3-parter. So let's see.
Ooh, nice. So very interested to, again, we say every week, very interested to see where this story is going. Show so far keeps knocking it out of the park. Can't wait to see what happens next week.
Get those hearts ready, people. It's not get. Roberto was playing the second game this week, and he tweeted out at me like, "Is it gonna get better?" It's like it's gonna get so much worse.
I'm afraid.
Yep.
All right. So thanks everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Dale. Thank you, Brennan, for being here. And again, thanks to Mike for having us on his podcast yesterday. And everyone that's going to be listening to this on Tuesday when it drops as part of the Star Wars Podcast Day 2023. Thank you, Oti. It's there on your name. I gotta say it. Where can people find you?
You can find me over at Twitter, Instagram, and Hive at EP whatever it says down there, or the show notes.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be back next week with a new brand new topic. What? I have no idea, but we're getting close to Mandalorian coming out. We'll do an episode soon. Just our thoughts on our speculations on it. And in a couple of weeks, we'll do our High Republic Phase 2 so far.
I gotta find convergence.
Yeah.
Still can't find it.
Oh my goodness. I will send you mine, but by the time we get there will be March already. All right, those. Thank you again to everyone for joining us. Stay safe. Be safe. And may the force be with you.